If you're an Airbnb owner or operator, what do you spend most of your time on? And if you had been under the impression that this would be a passive business, which area do you think is the one that drives you the most nuts? The one where you almost want to pull your hair out and you start questioning this entire idea of passive income. Well, if you've made it this far, you probably realize that in the Airbnb space, if you own one or own multiple, you know that there is no such thing as passive income. There is such a thing as making great income, especially if you have the right Airbnbs. However, it is work. And because you already have the asset, if you do this one thing, there's a good chance that you can actually make just the exact same amount, if not more money than you're currently making by simply doing this action. Now, this action is the action that has allowed us to, again, nothing is passive per se, but be able to have longer term stays at a premium without having to deal with the Airbnb guest that is going to nitpick every single thing. And is that dust that I see there? This is unacceptable. Canceling fees, sending you pictures as they come in. You're just like, oh my gosh, you know exactly what kind of guests you're going to deal with. We don't deal with that when we do this. Now, this thing, I want to preface that is just the foundation. And you can do this thing and still get very lucrative contracts and not have to worry about that property for months and months and while bringing in, if not the exact same revenue, more than the Airbnb revenue. As a matter of fact, we in our current market make more using this strategy and doing this specific thing with this strategy, which I'm going to reveal in a second. But doing this is phase one. If you want to take it to phase two, because we know that there is truly not a real passive business unless you, again, delegate and then have a management company, which then eats into your profits. And if that's not you, you're probably not the avatar that I'm talking to. You're probably not going to watch this video. But if you're an operator and you want to squeeze every dollar out of there is a way that you can do that. And I want to get to it in a second. But before I get to what this thing is that you need to do, or doing more of it will free you, and not once, not twice, but actually, or I shouldn't say more than twice or three times or every day, right? This is not like dealing with cleaners every single day and you have to rinse and repeat. You only got to do this once. Okay. Now, before I go into what this thing is, I want to be very clear that while you can still have success by doing this, we like to take it to the next level because we're very aggressive. We're playing offense and we're trying to build a lucrative business. But if you're on the side where you're like, hey, listen, I like doing less and getting more, then this is why this is going to resonate with you. But let me level set for a second, because this area, and I'll get to what you need to do in a second, but this area that we're playing in is essentially corporate housing. We use the word MTR a lot, and I actually want to refrain from using that word so much because I think people think that all MTRs are created equal, and they're not, because a lot of people who are in the MTR, which stands for the midterm rental space, are catering to individuals that are mom and pop, Joe Schmo next door, a family who's coming in town who needs to stay for another 2 weeks, or a traveling nurse that needs to book your place for the next 3 weeks or 3 months for your rotation. That's not who we're dealing with, right? Why? Because we're talking about B2C, which is another word for business to consumer. That is what Airbnb was built on. That is what the furnished finders are built on, is built from business to customer. What we like to do is go B2B. And when you're in the B2B, it means business to business. If you, and I'm speaking to you, are running this like a real business, whether you have one property or not, you are in the business to provide a place and a service, aka hospitality, that's why it's not passive, to then be highly compensated for having a furnished accommodation. And that is why a lot of folks who are in the LTR space are like, the heck with that. If you're currently getting value from watching this video, you'll want to make sure you take a second and click below to grab the midterm rental insurance blueprint to help accelerate your process in being able to land these midterm rental insurance contracts with respect to your marketplace. Make sure you click the button below and grab it, and continue on with the gems in this video. I don't want to deal with hospitality. You move in your stuff, I send at least once and we forget about it. However, those folks are not bringing nearly as much as what we're bringing in. But what if there's a way you have your cake and eat it too? That's why we got into this space, which is, again, a B2B model, and it's corporate housing. Now, within corporate housing, there are within the umbrella of corporate housing, there are multiple niches. And the niche that we've tapped into is the insurance niche. The insurance niche is when there is an insurance company that needs to displace or at least relocate a displaced family due to a claim. They then work with relocation specialists who then work with mom and pop owners or business owners like ourselves on Airbnb to then create a contract with the insurance company that is going to be paying on behalf of the family. So if you think about that, that means that anytime there's an unforeseen event that happens to a policyholder, which is anyone who has a policy on their home, whether they have a mortgage or not, they have an insurance policy that is tied to that mortgage, typically baked into that cost based on the premium that they pay every single month or annually. Typically, you bake that in. Your mortgage company actually makes the payment on your behalf after you've paid them for the initial year. And that's why you probably forget about it or you're not as familiar. It's already baked into your mortgage, or you're just making mortgage payments. When something happens to your home, that homeowner becomes eligible for a decent amount of money, which is called a loss of use and additional living expense, or also known as coverage D. That amount is typically 20 to 25% of the home's value, and that is the portion that is then extracted as a means to cater to a displaced homeowner due to a home, due to, again, fires happen often, due to tree falling on a home or water damage, sewage backup. Any of those things will then fall into, you are no longer able to live in this home, and therefore temporarily, keep in mind, phase one, they'll move them to a hotel immediately for that same day perhaps, but then they'll look for a more affordable housing solution for the insurance company. Now keep in mind that when we say affordable, it's also a more convenient location for the family to relocate, because if you're coming from a place where you have a single family home with a fenced in backyard with you and your pets, living room, dining room, garage, etc., it's not the same experience to move that family into a hotel. You can live in a hotel for the next couple of days, but it's hard to then go and live in a hotel for the next 3 months, right? So they are finding them a like solution that's more appropriate for that family to live in temporarily. So again, keep in mind the first line of defense, the hotels, then the second solution is to find them a temporary housing solution, and that's where they go to you. But now you are not simply just, they're not finding you directly. They're working with a relocation agency that will then find a temporary housing solution for them. And those relocation agencies, this is very important, are not just looking on Airbnb. Okay, that is one of the places they are looking at, but it's not limited to. They're also looking in their database, which ties us back to our original point. What is the one thing that you can do, or if you do more of this, you can actually get lucrative monthly contracts at a premium with less headaches by doing this one thing? Well, the number one thing is being available. And the number one way to be available is to understand where these relocation agencies are actually sourcing their inventory, aka properties, from. One is Airbnb, but it is not limited to Airbnb. As a matter of fact, the one thing you can do, and if you did more of it once, and again, setting and forget it, if you want to just do the level groundwork, I'm talking about for those people who are like, hey, listen, man, I'm all about doing this thing once, and you know what, let the chips fall where they may, right? If you're that kind of person, this is the one thing you want to do. You want to make sure, this is very important, that you are listing your existing property into the databases of where these companies are searching. If you just simply list your property in there, you're literally giving yourself a chance to then be picked out of the draw, right? And when I say out of a draw, it's just these things are so prevalent that it's only a matter of time that it happens in your zip code. That if you do not live in those, you are completely eliminating the chances of being picked from those databases. And those doing more of this, if you just took an afternoon, blocked it out for an hour, and you said, I'm going to enter my property into these databases You can literally look at temporary housing databases, or well, I shouldn't say databases, but temporary housing companies near me. You can use Chat GPT. It'll give you a free script. It's, find me more temporary relocation agencies like ALE Solutions in my city, in my state, right? The reason I use ALE Solutions is because that is an example of one of the top relocation agencies in the nation. That's ALE, A as in apple, L as in love, E as in echo, space solutions.com. You would enter your property there by going to the header. It'll say the housing, and it'll say register housing. In the top header, register property, then it'll say register housing. You click that button, you enter your property in there, and you hit enter. You don't need pictures, you don't need anything. You just need to drop your information in the databases so that they can contact you, email, etc. When you need to put a price, put a premium price to begin with. That's what I always say. You can always negotiate down rather than up, and there are multiple companies as such. As a matter of fact, if you click the link in my bio, I do include more companies by taking the MTR blueprint, the link in bio. It's completely free. Download that and you'll be able to see other areas where you can actually enter your property. But that alone, if you did just that, you would then make yourself available, because when they're picking, they want to pick properties and they want to pick investors, or they want to pick homeowners who understand what they're looking for. And if you're entering your property into their database, it means you understand that they may reach out to you. They typically like pet-friendly homes. They typically like flexible temporary stays, like 1 month to 3 months to 6 months, to house their clients. And because you're in that database, they know that you raise your hand, you understand, and you're not going to push back. You're not going to give them the old scripts, which they typically face by going outside of those databases, because every time they go outside those databases, they're faced with these traditional homeowners who are like, nope, 12-month leases only. Which is sad and unfortunate, because these homeowners don't understand that they could get a 3-month booking that could literally cover their entire year's worth of overhead. It's just lack of knowledge, lack of knowing. But because you are watching this, and because you are aware, and they will be just as aware that you're aware, when you live in their databases, if you enter as many databases as possible by doing the search that I just said and clicking below and getting my MTR insurance blueprint, then you will then know other areas where you can lease your properties, and you only need to do it once. Now, it is best practice if you want to again continue to add to these databases, but I'm talking about ground level. I'm talking about if you just want to make more money, you want to do the bare minimum, enter your property in there once. You're giving yourself a shot, and then just sit back and relax and continue to do what you do. You're giving yourself a shot. So this is for my people who want to get more by doing less. This formula, yes, does work. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, there's more that you can do, because remember, corporations is where the business starts. But again, this is for my people, I'm giving you the truth. If you want to, again, lowest hanging fruit, you want to be part of the action, you want less headaches, you do not want to continuously be in the trenches of having to deal with Airbnb guests, and you're getting a little bit burned out, do the foundation, do the bare minimum. This in by law, by the fact that they're looking there, will increase your chances of landing these large lucrative deals. Do more of this and you will get results as well. The more you do, the more you get what you put in. But this at least is the foundation that now you have an advantage of, compared to the other investors and Airbnb operators who have no idea and are not even giving themselves a shot, because they're not even available and don't exist on these databases. If you got value from this video, make sure you first download the MTR insurance blueprint by clicking below, and check out this next video called Implement Your Midterm Rental Insurance Strategy Effortlessly.